Okay. So, commonest questions. Will it hurt?
Yes.
And the answer to that is not really. It's much better than going to the dentist. We can either do a thing called a no-needle vasectomy where we spray the anaesthetic through the skin. In fact, I think that's a bit more uncomfortable than just using a very, very fine needle. The needle's so fine that often you don't even see the little hole where it's gone in.
Yes.
And it's way better than going to the dentist.
Yes.
So the bit that causes a little bit of pain might take 5 seconds. That's it, and it's all done. Then you don't feel anything at all. We use a long-acting anaesthetic, and that lasts up to 4 to 6 hours.
Yes.
Now, most people get little or no pain afterwards, but occasionally people get an ache afterwards, and they just take ibuprofen. So we never give people a strong script for strong painkillers. The strongest they need is ibuprofen usually.
Yes.
That's just Nurofen, Advil, that sort of stuff.
I would say after having a vasectomy, it's not even really pain; it's just a bit of discomfort.
Yeah. Well, during the operation, there's no discomfort at all.
Correct.
Once that local anaesthetic's in, there's absolutely no discomfort. So the next question would be, when can I get back into things?
Yes.
And we usually say take it easy for 2 days. I mean, you don't have to, wrap yourself up in cotton wool. But if you've got an office job, people just go straight back to work because there's no difference sitting around at home or sitting in an office at work. So for most people, they'd have it done on a Thursday, Friday, go back to work Monday. If you're a runner or a cyclist, so we do a lot of triathletes.
Yes.
They probably have to take, like a week off because you can't cause yourself any permanent damage by going back to work or running or cycling too early. All it's going to do is hurt a bit, and you've got to take some more ibuprofen.
Yes. And open-ended versus closed-ended. What's your experience there?
Okay. So there's a whole lot of minor things that we put together that make the operation way better than the standard Australian way of doing it. It's a funny thing, but it's just tradition that in Australia we still do a very old-fashioned operation, often under general anaesthetic. So the first thing is that the guidelines all around the world say you should always do this in the local anaesthetic. In fact, they say don't do it under a general. The next thing is the thing called no scalpel vasectomy. Instead of cutting the scrotum, when you cut the scrotal skin, you cut through a whole lot of blood vessels, you get a lot of blood and bleeding. We do what's called no scalpel, where you actually push most of the blood vessels out of the way. So sometimes we might get 1 drop of blood for the whole operation. So the no scalpel makes a big difference. The open-ended vasectomy refers to we leave the bottom end open. The end coming from your testicle stays open. So we don't block that off. So you don't get any back pressure on your testicle afterwards. So you don't get an ache in your nuts afterwards. So that makes a huge difference.
Yes.
The open-ended part of it. The next thing we do, instead of tying off both ends and chopping a piece out, that leaves the 2 ends still in alignment, and it's actually got a slightly higher failure rate than if you do what we call mucosal cautery. With the cauterize, we burn down the inside of the tube a little way, and then it's got some tissue around it. It's a bit like pulling, if you had a long sleeve jumper on, pulling your jumper sleeve over your hand and putting a clip on it so that it can't join the other open end. So there's a whole number of things that all together make it less side effects than the traditional operation. Good.
And how many have you done personally? Vasectomies?
I've personally done probably over 35,000.
35,000.
I do about 2,500 a year at the moment.
Yeah, wow. So that's fantastic. What about some people say on the horror stories on the internet, the pain for life, things like that? What's been your experience with all that?
Look, pain for life is extraordinarily rare.
Yes.
It really is rare. And you do get some pretty impressive stories on the internet there. Quite often, that pain for life, there are guys where that is purely a psychological thing.
Correct.
They get really hung up with their nuts. They just, that whole thing about having a vasectomy, if you can't get somebody pregnant, it does something to your brain, and if you can't get somebody pregnant, it makes you a lesser man and that sort of stuff. And so that will affect their erections, the whole thing, and that's a purely psychological response. Look, some people, there's no doubt, that do get pain, but generally it goes down slowly over 3, 6, 9, maybe 12 months.
Yeah.
You've got to say that over my 36 years doing this, I reckon I could count on the fingers of half a hand the number of people who would say it's ruined their life. I've had one guy that went and got it reversed, and another guy that he had this really weird chronic pain, but he was certainly a weird sort of bloke. So it's really hard.
So 2 out of 35,000.
Yeah, it's sort of not like it's an everyday event, and it's certainly not even an every year event. And the other horror story you hear about, probably more commonly if you have the traditional operation where they do a cut and they cut through the blood vessels, is getting what's called the scrotal hematoma, where you get bleeding afterwards. Your scrotum fills up like a bag of blood, like a soccer ball. But even that will go down over 6 months, a maximum of a year, and it'll be completely normal. So even that's not a complete tragedy.
So the Dr. Snip method is definitely the best. Based on your personal experience, 35,000 vasectomies. Is that the record in Australia, or? Well,
I haven't got the statistics from specialists, but I know that I perform 1/6 of all vasectomies that aren't performed by a urologist or general surgeon in Australia.
Wow.
And I'm performing 3 times more than the nearest guy to me.
Yeah.
So I've certainly got the most experience. I go overseas every year and do 3 vasectomies in the Philippines with a team from the States and Canada and Europe.
The vasectomist crew.
And that's just fantastic because all of us pick up different tricks from the other doctors that are at the pointy end of doing this operation. So I can say that, what I'm doing and what the other people are doing that I run into overseas is superior to the standard operation.
It's cutting edge, pun intended.
Yeah, pun intended, yeah.
And what about in terms of failure rate in terms of pregnancy, like recanalization of the vas deferens?
Okay, pregnancy rates are really low. So vasectomy is, whatever way you do it, even if you do the traditional way, it's still the safest permanent method of contraception that's available. Now, for the standard operation, it's roughly 1 in 1,000. With the no scalpel, mucosal cautery, all that stuff that we do, it can be as low as 1 in 5,000.
Yes.
If you compare that to tubal ligation, so women who get their tubes tied at the end of their last pregnancy, if they're having a caesarean section, the failure rate is up to 1 in 64 for that.
Yeah, well.
And it's 1 in about 250 generally is the normal quoted figure for tubal ligation. So vasectomy is by far the safest, easiest method of permanent contraception when you either don't want children or you've reached the number of children you want.
Correct. And do you think it's becoming more accepted as a form of contraception in 2016? As people become more open-minded?
Yeah. Well, I've been doing it since 1980.
Wow.
And the difference has been remarkable since then. Like in 1980, it'd be 95% of people plus getting tubal ligation, 5% or less getting vasectomies. And now it's probably, just almost reversed.
That's fantastic. How do you think we can make vasectomies more mainstream?
Talking to guys like you, talking to anybody.
Yeah.
In fact, a few years back, Dick Smith paid for half the cost of a documentary on the vasectomy guru from the States who goes to the Philippines, Kenya and Haiti trying to save the world doing vasectomies.
Yeah, the vasectomist guy.
He made them launch that in Adelaide.
Yeah, Adelaide Film Festival,
And that was just fantastic. He did 16 live on the internet.
Yeah.
And within 2 years, India has picked up World Vasectomy Day as a national health day.
Oh, wow.
This year they had World Vasectomy Day in Kenya. Next year it's going to be in India. It's really just taking off.
That's fantastic. And so social media's been great for you for getting the message out there?
Yeah, social media has been really good. We're on, obviously we're on the internet with Google and that sort of stuff, but we've got a YouTube channel. Some of my patients have done amazing, their own mini documentaries.
Yeah.
I had a lovely vegan couple from Queensland, didn't want any children, and they did the most unbelievable. I didn't know they were going to do a documentary. The partner just said, "Do you mind if I take a picture during the operation?" I said, "Sure, go for it." And they produced like an almost professional documentary, I reckon, on vasectomy. Spectacular.
Yeah.
Another bloke was a stay-at-home dad called Reservoir Dad.
Yeah.
He's written a book and launched that in New York. He's links me on his site. And, it's really quite amazing that the community out there that really care about promoting it.
Your carbon footprint is probably the smallest on the planet.
hopefully, I don't get any carbon credits for that, but that's okay.
You should. There's just the long-term effect of population growth on the environment, etc. That's good. So do you talk much with Doug Stein, much at all, or?
Yeah. I'm going to meet up with him. He's organised a vasectomy conference in the US in January.
Yes.
And then I'm going to have 10 days doing vasectomies with him in February this year, 2017, that is.
In the Philippines?
Yep.
Nice. Very good, very good. I might have to go there and do an interview with him as well. What's in terms of age? I mean, we put 16-year-old girls on the contraceptive pill, and we put them there for 10, 20 years with the endogenous hormone risks and stuff like that. A lot of people say that giving a teenage guy or a young guy in his 20s a vasectomy is unethical. What are your thoughts about that?
It's always a difficult issue, but look, I take the view that people do make mistakes in life, but if I give them enough counselling, talk to them, explain the permanency of it. I mean, it is true that vasectomy, you've got to think about it as irreversible, but in fact, it's got a 90% success rate in the first 5 years of reversing it surgically. Yes. And also, there's more modern ways. If you just want one more child, you can always do what's called ICSI, intracytoplasmic sperm injection, where they take an immature sperm from the testicle and put it into an egg and implant it like an IVF procedure. So if you wanted one child, if you made a mistake, that's the cheapest way of reversing a vasectomy. So, but look, people make good decisions and bad decisions, and I'd say it's a good decision, generally speaking.
Definitely.
But people can, when you're 18 in Australia, you can join the army and go to Afghanistan and maybe get your legs shot off and think afterwards, gee, that mightn't have been the best idea. But we drive, we drink at 18, and
drive fast.
As long as people aren't intellectually disabled and they can make a rational decision, people know these things. Some people know from birth that they don't want to have children. I talk to people all the time about that sort of issue, and some of them say, I only just figured it out yesterday. Well, then maybe they need to think about it a bit longer. But some guys will say, look, I've always known I've never wanted kids. And some people come along when they're 40 and they come from a vasectomy and they've got no children, and you say, how long have you known about this? All my life.
Yeah.
And they've sort of basically suffered for the last 20 years, not having permanent contraception.
Yeah, and just worrying about getting someone pregnant or whatever.
Yeah.
The common question I get, people say, what if you get a vasectomy and you regret it? And I'm like, well, what if you have kids and regret that?
Yeah. It's like anything in life. There's always, there can be an element of regret. But look, as long as you think about it beforehand, and and don't beat yourself up if you make a mistake. We'll get it reversed. I mean, the NAB has an ad now that says it's going to cost you $500,000, $500,000 to bring up a child. The cost of reversal is nothing in comparison to that. So if you did have that, buyer's remorse or buyer's regret, get a reversal.
$500,000 for a kid. I thought it was like $250,000.
No, the latest ad that's on TV at the moment is $500,000.
Wow. Plus all the opportunity cost where you could have otherwise been working or recovering.
Yep.
Now you've got a better kid. That's okay. Any last thoughts for people? Like they can go to your website and look at this Q&A, stuff like that? FAQ?
Yeah. If anyone's got any questions, just go to my website, drsnip.com.au. All right. And you can always ring up and speak to one of my staff, and if it's beyond their capacity to answer it, they'll put the calls through to me.
Very good. I think I really appreciate your time. I think it's just about getting that awareness out there for guys. It's pretty minor surgery. The benefits are huge, and a lot of guys get it done.
Thanks for all your support.
No,
You've been fantastic.
Maybe we can get a YouTube discount code at some point.
Yeah, we could do that, couldn't we?
Yeah, for sure. All right, we'll talk again.
All right. Look, thanks again. You've been fantastic.
No worries, Doc Dan. Thanks a lot, man.
Bye.
See ya.
Every second, every minute, man, I swear that she can get it. Say if you a bad bitch, put your hands up high, hands up high, hands up high. Tell them dim the lights down right.